Alright guys, we are going to review the laws of exponents. For most of you, I say this is going to be a review because you should have learned the basic rules of exponents in your previous class. So there might be some things that you didn't see or maybe you're not as familiar with. So we're just going to spend a day today reviewing all the rules. So our essential questions for the lessons are obviously what are the laws of exponents and how do we use them to simplify expressions. So before we get too far, let's actually review what an exponent is, just in case. We have the actual exponent, which is the thing that the base is being raised to. The base is the number that is actually being applied to that exponent. So if I have all of it together, we call it a power. But sometimes we usually say 2 to the power of 4. So that is some kind of miscommunication that we use sometimes. But we know what we mean when we say 2 to the power of 4. That's really saying to multiply 2 by itself 4 times. It doesn't mean 2 times 4. It means 2 multiplied by itself here. It's occurring 4 times. So, one thing that we need to also review is how to add and subtract monomials. Now, you might not remember what monomial means, but that's basically just a term. Sometimes it has a variable and a constant in front of it, a coefficient, or sometimes it can just be a variable. So in order to combine like terms, we must remember that the terms have to have the same variable and to the same power. So, for example, 7x minus 4y, well, I can't put the 7 and the 4 together because this has an x and this has a y. Another example would be 5z minus 8. I can't put these two together because 5 has a z with it and the minus 8 does not have any variable whatsoever, especially not a z. The very last one, we've got 3x to the second power. That's really saying 3x squared. And 2x, so if I had 3x squared plus 2x, they wouldn't be able to be combined because one of the x's has a power of 2 and the other has an understood power of 1. So in order to be put together, it has to have the same variable to the same power exactly. That's the only time you can put together the coefficients. So, on your notes, you should have one little example section for adding and subtracting monomials. We'll go over those. Before seeing if we can combine these, we need to take a look at the variables and the exponents. We've got x squared y, they match exactly, so I'm not going to make any changes to the actual variables here. I'm going to have something x squared y. I'm going to do the coefficients here, and I'm going to do 9 minus 10, which leaves us with negative 1, or you might just see it as negative. We know that technically that's negative 1. Now, if this had been any different, if this had been 9x squared y squared minus 10x squared y, if it had been like that, I couldn't do anything at all because these do not match exactly. They have to match exactly. Example number 2 says subtract 6w from 8w. So this is kind of turnaround words. We've got 8w minus 6w. They both have a w with them, so we can proceed. So I'm going to have 8 minus 6 is 2 w's. So when we're combining like terms, nothing changes about the actual term itself. The only thing that's changing is the coefficients in front of the terms, and that gets a little confusing when you start throwing in the additional rules. So go ahead and try one of these problems, see if you really remember what you're doing.